Thank you so much, everyone. We are here to talk about brain bots and the broken curricula. Who prepares us for tomorrow? Before we start the session and I invite the panelists on the stage, I want to remind everyone that please take the pre-session poll. This is accessible through your SOT app. Please open the app and take the pre-session poll. We will be displaying the data before the session starts. I want to remind everyone that... Right. I'm going to start inviting the panelists up on the stage. I will first start with the panelist that is joining virtually, Miss Caroline Jenner. She is the Chief Operating Officer of JA Worldwide, which is a youth-serving nonprofit that develops entrepreneurship, skills for employment, and economic resilience in the youth between the ages of 5 and 25. Ladies and gentlemen, joining remotely, Miss Caroline Jenner, which is a youth-serving nonprofit that develops
Nice to meet you.
Skills for Thank you. And economic resilience in the Next, I'd like to invite to the stage our second panelist, Dr. Athar Osama. Dr. Osama is the founder of InnoVentures Global Private Limited and World Science Collaborative Limited. He is a recognized leader in STEM, innovation policy, AI-driven solutions for education and health. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Athar Osama. InnoVentures Global Private Limited and World Science Collaborative Limited. He is a recognized leader in STEM, innovation policy, AI-driven solutions for education and health. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Athar Osama. What a meta moment. Next up, I would like to invite our panelist, Florian Ciprian, who is a senior international baccalaureate manager. He works closely with IB World Schools. What a meta moment. Just a second. Next up, I would like to invite our panelist, Florian Ciprian, who is a senior international baccalaureate manager. He works closely with IB World Schools. What a systems. Just a second. Next up, I would like to invite our... As much as I like the sound of my own voice, could we please turn down the delay? My apologies. Florian Ciprian, who works closely with IB World Schools, systems and communities to provide partnership, guidance, and support to achieve strategic learning objectives. Florian, please turn down the delay. My apologies. Florian Ciprian, who works closely with IB World Schools, systems and communities to provide partnership, guidance, and support to achieve strategic learning objectives. Florian. And last, and definitely not least, I would like to invite to the stage Mr. Ahmed Khan, who is the CEO of the Punjab Skills Development Fund, where he is leading initiatives to enhance workforce development and skills training across Punjab. Ahmed Khan Saab. I can take the echo. You've solved the echo. Panelists, thank you so much for being here. And Caroline, thank you for joining remotely. Attendees, can I please remind everyone to access the poll through the SOT Events app, and please take the pre-session poll. We will be displaying our initial data on the screen shortly. May I also remind everyone that after the panel discussion, there will be a post-session poll as well to see how many of you might have changed your mind about the topic today. So without much further ado, let's dive in. Ladies and gentlemen, as AI transforms how we think and learn, education must also evolve beyond outdated curricula, which was designed for the industrial age. This session hopes to explore how schools and universities can prepare learners for a world where humans and machines learn together. Can AI truly democratize opportunity, or will it deepen divides? And as reliance on intelligent systems grows, how do we guard against overdependence that weakens human judgment, creativity, and agency. The conversation asks what education must truly teach to help us remain human in the age of intelligent systems. I'm going to ask a question and then ask all the panelists to give their opening remarks. The question is the curriculum broken? Is it genuinely preparing, empowering the learners of today for the demands of tomorrow? How must education, teaching, learning, and assessment evolve for an AI-driven future? First off, I will ask Ms. Caroline Jenner, who is joining remotely, to give her remarks on this opening question. Over to you, Caroline. Learning and assessment evolve.
Thank you, Azam. I'm so pleased to be here. I hope you can hear me well. I don't believe curriculum is broken. I believe that curriculum needs some help. Thank you, Azam. I'm so pleased to be here. I hope you can hear me well. For example, I think one of the things that curriculum is a slow-moving vehicle. Curriculum is something that needs to be molded over time, and that is our job. We need to bring the human element to curriculum. For example, almost like a roadmap that needs to be drawn as we find our way going forward. Curriculum is something that needs to be molded over time. And that is our job. We need to bring the human element to curriculum, almost like a roadmap that needs to be drawn as we find our way going forward.
Hi, Caroline, we've got a lot of delay. I'm going to definitely come back to you with another question so that the entire audience can better understand. There was a lot of feedback and echo. So I will definitely come back to you with further remarks. But I'm going to direct the same question to Ahmed Khan Saab. So Ahmed Khan Saab, is the curriculum broken, and how do we prepare the youth and learners of today for the demands of tomorrow? With further remarks.
Yes, right. If you want to call it broken, if you want to call it outdated or whatever, the fact is that it needs work, right? Whether you look at our textbooks or whether even if you look at our skills development or the TEVET sector, as we like to call it, what we're teaching belongs in the industrial age at best, maybe the prehistoric age, but anyway. So we're not preparing people for the knowledge age, right? So kids of today and trainees of today need a lot of help in technology. Machinery has evolved, tools have evolved, technology has evolved, even thinking has evolved, right? Problem solving approaches have evolved. So I don't think our curriculum caters to that. And there are some structural problems in terms of where it's housed, who is responsible for updating it, who is the gatekeeper. It's all very politicized and it's all very bureaucratic. So I think not only does the curriculum need to be updated, but the methodology in which it is looked at and updated also needs a lot of help.
Thank you. Very insightful, Ahmed Saab. Florian, what are your opening remarks on the same question?
Thank you for the insightful question. I think the curriculum is as broken as is static, just written somewhere and forgotten and taken out for inspections and evaluations, and is as broken as it's not in line with the learning needs of the students today and of the future. In a way, there are so many different curricula and so many options that we build for student learning. What I'm really interested in is how is the taught curriculum in line and responsive to student learning. The International Baccalaureate offers a curriculum that is directly connected to learning and grassroots brought from the experience of the schools around the world in the 160 countries we work. So I feel that a definition of evolving curriculum is more useful for us to understand that the learning experiences we offer to students are the ones that are mostly in line with their learning needs. The more we use evidence, data, and informed decisions to decide what we're going to teach next, the more we are going to provide a lively, responsive, and real curriculum that engages students with the challenges of tomorrow.
Fantastic. Thank you. Dr. Osama, I have a similar question for you. Your initial comments on is the curriculum broken and how can we better prepare the learners of today for the demands of tomorrow? Sir.
Okay, thank you for the question. So personally, in short answer is that I don't think the curriculum is broken. It needs improvement every 5 to 10 years. You know, things change, underlying subjects change. So it needs improvement every 5 to 10 years. But fundamentally, I think the curriculum serves its purpose. I think what is really broken is the assessment system. And I think assessment system needs to be totally and fully redesigned for even, you know, the benefits of a half decent curriculum to be accrued. And I can, give you an example. So, for example, when I was growing up, I was doing my FSC. There was a section introduced on the physics paper, which was called scientific reasoning. Right? Somebody somewhere had the good sense to understand and appreciate that uh, the basic idea behind science was to encourage students' curiosity. And so they basically said, okay, we will ask students questions that come from everyday life. Why is the sky blue? Why do we have seasons? Why does an airplane fly? These are questions that students are supposed to ask as they study science in the classroom. And so they introduced this section on the physics paper, which had 10 statements, and you had to answer, give out responses for those 10 statements. It was called scientific reasoning. And every statement, if you got the answer right, carried 2 points on the 75-point paper. So it was a significant part of the physics paper at the time. But as this thing trickled down to the classroom, what really happened was that our teachers basically gave us 50 pages worth of questions with answers and told us to just memorize those. Because the 10 statements in the physics paper would come from one of these 50 questions or 100 questions that they've given you. So essentially, I mean, the curriculum is not broken. Even in this case, the assessment was correct, right? But the way it kind of trickled down through the classroom, the way the teaching happened, and the way teachers tend to teach to the test, that is what destroyed the whole process, right? So I do feel, actually, I feel sometimes that we should abolish the textbook boards. We should abolish the textbook boards, and we should just prescribe high-level standards of what students are supposed to know, and what is in the exam is the prerogative of the examiner, and every teacher has to teach so that the student is able to answer whatever is in their exam. And there is no such thing as out of course, because there is no such thing as out of course. What is in life is in the course. And I think that's the only way students are actually going to learn, and teachers are actually going to teach so that the students can learn. As long as we have these exam boards and textbooks and past papers and everything, there is going to be no learning in the classroom. And unfortunately, this is what has happened to our society. Nobody wants to learn, and nobody wants to teach. Everybody just wants a grade, and they're doing everything they can to get that grade. Okay, so I think that's the real problem with teaching and learning in our school. It is being done for the wrong reasons, both for the students and for teachers and for parents. I think the whole system is really messed up.
So a radical change in the way we assess our students is what Dr. Osama is suggesting. I'm going to try once again with Miss Caroline and ask her for her opening comments once again. But I will add to that question and ask Miss Caroline, in your opinion, what knowledge, skills, and values do you think will remain uniquely human in these hybrid learning environments that tomorrow represents? Over to you. Ask Miss Caroline. In your opinion, what knowledge, skills, and values do you think
Is
will
the
remain
audio okay now?
human in these hybrid learning environments that tomorrow represents? Over to you.
Is the audio okay now? You were referring to hybrid learning environments, Azam.
Yeah.
I think in our work at JA, we have always really embraced new technologies.
You were referring
Hybrid
to
learning
hybrid learning
environments would be
environments,
very,
Azam?
very familiar. At the same time, however,
I think
we
for
are trying
our
to
work at
cultivate and
JA,
be
we
extremely
have
committed to the
always
human
really embraced
capabilities that
new
would shape our
technologies.
purpose, that would shape
Hybrid
our
learning
connection, that
environments
would
would
shape
be very,
leadership.
very familiar.
In the
As
future of work,
the same
success
time,
has to be
however,
entirely
we
hybrid,
are trying
knowing
to
how to
cultivate and
combine
be extremely
our
committed to the
human capabilities with
capabilities that
intelligent
would shape our
tools,
purpose, that would
especially
shape
since
our
those are the
connection, that would
precise
shape
and precious human
leadership.
capabilities that those
In the
tools
future of work,
are
success
are
has
least
to
able
be
to replicate.
entirely hybrid,
Um,
knowing how to
as we
combine
as we
our
start to
human
explore the
capabilities with
opportunities that AI
intelligent
can bring
tools,
us, we hope
especially
that it
since
can
those are the
unlock
precise
more
and precious
humanity,
human
not less, by
capabilities that
embedding
those
more of
tools
these
are
durable
least able to
skills. As
replicate.
you know, our approach is
As
rooted in
as we start to
entrepreneurship, which
explore the
includes
opportunities that AI
creativity,
can bring
ethical
us,
judgment,
we hope that it
problem
can
solving,
unlock more
the
humanity,
ability
not
to
less.
imagine life,
As you know, our
including
approach is
collaboration,
rooted in
communication,
entrepreneurship,
especially
which
across
includes
cultures,
creativity, ethical
because
judgment,
innovation
problem
happens in
solving,
teams. And we
the
know
ability
that
to
trust
imagine
like
something
that
that
cannot
doesn't exist yet and bring those ideas to life, including collaboration, communication, especially across cultures, because innovation happens in teams. And we know that trust like that cannot doesn't exist yet and bring those ideas to life, including collaboration, communication.
I will try to decode all of that for the sake of the audience. But what I do want to build upon is what Dr. Osama said about reimagining assessment as a whole. And I would ask Florian to please give us more insights of how the International Baccalaureate tackles the problem of assessments.
Thank you for this. I would even take it a notch more general to this idea of what are we educating students for? And then decide of what we want to teach, how we want to teach, and then what we want to assess. The International Baccalaureate was formed after the World War to fix a broken system and connect people in a way that creates global mindedness, inquiry based learning, transdisciplinarity, and a holistic education that is powerful for agency action so young people can create a better world. I think we are now at a moment in the history of our planet and our human existence where it is time, and we have decided at the IB to take this responsibility to move away from a utilitarian approach to education and to really focus on what are the problems of the future, of today and of tomorrow, and what students will need in order to be able to solve those problems. And we really stopped on this idea of human flourishing to understand that only through the process of learning we will be able to continually think about and find the solutions so young people can fix the problems that we're dealing with today. Can you imagine asking AI to stop all the world wars happening at this time? Can you imagine AI asking him how to stop global warming and to slow down the loss of biodiversity? These are complex problems that have human aspects in terms of connection, collaboration, intuition, empathy, and creativity that can only be solved through a curriculum and an assessment that is powerful, that has human flourishing at the core, and that will take with us planetary flourishing. So at the IB, more and more we focus on assessing of what matters most for students. Human skills, human capacities that the AI won't be able to tackle yet, from what we know, in terms of what will they need to change the future. That's what we are focused on at this time.
Absolutely. Very insightful, talking about human skills, human competencies, which brings me to a question that I will ask from Ahmed Khan Sahab. So, at the Punjab Skills Development Fund, you are enhancing workforce development and skills training across Punjab. I took the liberty of Googling before this session the top 5 jobs that AI won't be replacing in the next couple of years. So I have nurse, choreographer, physician, mental health counselor, trainer, and in this list is also carpenter, electrician, etc., etc. So my question to you in the development of human skills is, how do we identify the needs of the future and how do we make sure that the youth of today is future-proof? Sir.
Wow. So just to comment on what the other gentlemen were mentioning, and then I'll answer the question. A lot of learning that formal education is for intellectual growth, and it's so for us learning is very outcome focused, right? So when we talk about teaching, it's usually for a very specific outcome. Okay, they need to generate some income, whether it's build their own businesses or whether it's to get a job. So so we look at it slightly differently, from everyone else. But anyway, so that was one. So look, technology has been evolving forever, right? So machinery has been evolving, tools have been evolving, techniques have been evolving. So we at PSDF, Punjab, Pakistan in specific, we are so far behind the curve, from the rest of the world, that we don't really need to think too hard about, how to innovate or what to innovate. All we need to do is to look westwards and just get the best techniques, the best tools, the best curriculum, the best assessment tools, and just bring them here and try to localize them in a context that is usable. So what we're trying to do is, we're trying to figure out, okay, how is machinery going to evolve? Before that, okay, what is the latest machinery that is not being used in Pakistan? So let's just train people on that, and then we can worry about how it's going to evolve. What are the latest tools that are being used? What is the latest software that is being used? So luckily, being behind the curve has this one advantage where we just need to figure out what to bring in and do that. But we are doing it. That's the point.
Fantastic. So one of the rare instances where being a follower is actually a really good thing. We literally just have to mimic what the developed world is doing and see it bear fruit. I'll go back to Dr. Osama. And this time I will focus on the teacher side. So I do have a follow-up question on how we can reimagine assessment. I would ask for some further insights into that. But I would also like some insights on how can teacher training incorporate AI? So a little bit more details on how we can reimagine assessment and what does incorporation of AI look like with regards to teacher training? Sir.
Okay, I think before I talk about assessment, I want to make one more point, and that point is that I think the future of learning is individualized, self-paced learning. And unless our schools and our teachers are preparing our students to self-learn, they are not going to be able to take advantage of AI. I think the biggest benefit of AI is not going to come from automation of current processes. It is really going to come from reimagining learning the way it's going to happen in the future. And if AI can produce unlimited copies of teachers that the students can individually interact with, then I think that is the future of learning. And I'll give you one very quick example. I have a 13-year-old boy who's interested in becoming a Formula One strategist. Okay, now that's a very specialized thing for a 13-year-old to say, but the way I encourage him to use, so I don't allow him to use any AI for his homeworks. But other than homework, he's encouraged to use AI to try to learn and get ahead, right? So what I've told him to do is to go and sit on ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to calculate the optimal lap time of the Beijing circuit. Now that's something that I cannot do it for himself, and he certainly cannot do it at his age, right? But with the help of ChatGPT, he can gradually learn to do this. ChatGPT can explain to him how it is calculating accelerations and decelerations and curves and straights and all those things, and he can add more complexities. And so through this one-to-one process of interacting with ChatGPT, he can actually solve the problems that he will probably only be able to solve himself, when he's 25, right? So that's the kind of learning I expect AI to unleash. And I think that's the kind of learning that we need to prepare our students to be able to do. Fundamental learning, sort of basic school learning will still be there. It will still probably will remain the job of the teacher, but beyond sort of fundamental learning, I think students should be able to learn themselves. And we need to enable them to do this kind of learning so that we can take advantage of AI as a whole. The other thing I also wanted to say is that I think we are back to the idea of encouraging critical thinking. From what we know so far of AI, it requires a learner to basically demonstrate critical thinking. So when prompt engineering came about, there was a lot of hoopla around these, $500,000 jobs being available for people who could do prompt engineering. But if you really look at prompt engineering, what is prompt engineering? It basically, you ask AI a question, it gives you an answer, you absorb that information, you ask a more intelligent question, then it gives you an answer, and you absorb the information, ask a more intelligent question. Now, at the end of the day, what is that? I think that is critical thinking. So again, even when you use AI, it will require you to demonstrate critical thinking, which is what all of us are here for. And it will also require you to demonstrate prior knowledge. If you don't have prior knowledge and you don't have critical thinking, you will not be able to do well in AI. Okay, so these two things are really, really important. They have become more important with the advent of AI, and it's going to become very, very clear, very soon, that those who are not able to demonstrate this will not be able to do well in the age of AI. Now, when I come to assessment, I think the burden on the teacher has become even more. We know that students are using AI to answer questions. Some of the teachers have now begun to use AI, although they lagged behind the students by almost a year. Okay, but now the challenge is, when I'm teaching something, I know the student is going to use AI to answer the question. How do I formulate an assessment so that either I don't allow the student to use, AI cannot answer that question, or I somehow incorporate AI in my question such that AI input becomes part of the process of learning, right? There is something called authentic, assessments, which is basically that you assess students not on reproducing something, but on the actual things that he will be required to do, when he or she goes to the workplace. So, for example, if you are, assessing student on say entrepreneurship, you actually don't ask it to write a business plan, which the AI will be able to write anyway. You ask the student to actually set up a business and actually do the business, right? So that's what is the idea of authentic assessment. But but the basic idea is that with the age of AI, the burden on the teacher has become greater, not lesser. Yes, it will free you from some mundane tasks, but it will require you to really redesign assessment so that you can actually test the learning. And that will become more and more difficult as more and more AI becomes available in all kinds of tools. It will become a ubiquitous technology. You will not even know, the student will not even know that they are using AI. Okay, so I think that's the real point here, and from that perspective, I think teachers need to be really aware of how AI works, when would it work and when would it not work? Most of the training that we are seeing right now is based on, okay, I'll teach you this tool, you use this tool to, create lesson plans, or you use this tool to create assessments. Tools are going to change. Tools are going to change very fast as new system and new things are going to become available. Tools are going to change. So I think learning tools is not the is not the right way to go for AI. I think teachers need to have a deep and intuitive understanding of how AI works and under what circumstances they will allow a student to use AI and under what circumstances they will not, and how to use it, etc., etc. I think those are the real things that we need to focus on.
Thank you so much, Dr. Osama. You're absolutely right that AI is making some lives easier, but the lives of teachers and the work of teachers perhaps is getting a little bit more complex. And I will direct a question to Florian, which is, how can we then prepare teachers to assess for tomorrow? What is the IB's approach to that? What should the approach be?
I really appreciate that you spoke about teachers and what teachers are doing, but I think it's important to also look at our end user, the students. It is time to engage educational systems to adapt for AI for transformative potential that it has. Just to connect with something you've said about kind of the positives. We are so paralyzed in a way by this idea that AI is going to change what we do in ways that are not useful. But I want to share a few thoughts here and a few examples to kind of envision what could be possible, always with the students in mind. So if educational systems adapt to AI for transformative potential, we can really, for example, hyper-focus on differentiation. Exactly like you said, every student needs a challenge, a curriculum, an engagement that is really personalized. And with the tools of AI, we can now do that in seconds. We can really understand what are the learning needs of each child, how can we meet them, and how we can teach students about AI for their informed digital citizenship. And I would say, how can we, in terms of assessment, to kind of take this thought even further, how can we not even consider stopping them from accessing AI and understanding what questions we need to ask them, what learning we need to engage them that is purely human and purely focused on what they can learn with the tools that we have now. So we need to move forward to kind of integrate these best practices for an AI-driven future. I don't think we have a choice at this point, and it's interesting to understand how it's connected at the ecosystem level so students can benefit always, all the time.
Thank you so much, Florian. I loved the point of the customized learning pathways for each student and how AI can unlock that. But the more we use AI, and this is a question for all of my panelists, and this is a perhaps Gen Z phenomena, that the overdependence on these tools. So my question then is, what knowledge, skills, and values remain uniquely human in the next, let's say, I can't put even a year label on it, 2 years, 5 years, but what will it mean to be uniquely human in the future? And this is I'm not going to direct the question to anyone, so I'll ask my panelists to volunteer. What does it mean to be human in the future? Ahmed sir.
So we were talking about this a little earlier, right? So theory tells us that there are three types of very unique skills. So one is, the first part is people skills, like, so people skills involve how to dress in a certain way. They involve, to be on time, to talk a certain way, like respect and all of those things, right? So that's the first sort of definition of skills. The second one is problem solving skills. So problem solving skills are more about learning how to learn. They are about, okay, how do I fix a light bulb? it's about, okay, where should these panels go? Where should the panelists sit, right? These don't require any unique technical training. And the third is your technical skills, which comes much later. So I think, the first two are things that are very intrinsically human, and they evolve from location to location, context to context. So I think that part is going to remain very uniquely human. And just one thing I wanted to add there, to the personalized, self-paced learning. The two words that I found missing were on demand and lifelong. So not only is it personalized, not only is it self-paced, but it's also on demand. Because I'm fixing sort of an electrical socket. That's when I need to learn about it, right? I don't want to learn today for the potential that one day I might need it. So that's the time I want to call upon the tool. And then it has to be lifelong, because there's a level 1, there's a level 2. So I should be able to up the level according to what the need is.
Absolutely. So 3 categories that you've pointed out of skills, and 1 and 2 essentially make it very human. Florian, same question. What will it mean to be human in the future as our dependence on these tools increase?
And in a way, what we need education to do.
Absolutely.
I think education needs to promote human development. Otherwise, we have missed this opportunity to kind of realize that for the first time ever, we're not the most competent entities on the planet that we inhabit. We have created tools, machine and AI, that could outperform us in tests that were inherently human for a while. And we need to understand that for now, we need to re-evaluate what it means to be human. And this brings me to what do schools do now, what education does. So the focus is human development and human flourishing, so the planet can survive, because we're at the point where the planet might not be able to sustain this rate of development. We need to understand that the role of school has to change in line with this human dimensions that we're discussing here. What do schools do? They create community, they focus on the process of learning, they engender collaboration, they really work on the internal motivation of students through strong human relationships. Teachers will continue to be the ones who are going to drive young people to learn, to want to learn. We need to understand that the ecosystem of learning needs to be planned for longer term, and then the purpose needs to be clear. And from this lifelong learning that we've been talking about individual, we need to understand that humanity needs to engage in infinite learning, because this is our escape from the doom. And we have decided at the IB really to go against the tide. As I said, to move away from the utilitarian part, we're teaching students and preparing them to do a job, to have a role in society, to really giving them this idea that they're part of the solution. We talk about education a lot in terms of problems. What is this? What is missing? What is not there? But I think it's time for us to really see education and continuous infinite learning as part of the solution. We will continue to develop, grow, be sustainable if we learn and continuously learn how to do it. So it's learning, like our Director General says in his book, learning as if life depends on it. Now is the time.
Because it does.
It definitely does. So this is how we need to teach and learn. Yeah, it never stops.
Fantastic. And Dr. Osama, your comments on what will it mean to be human in this AI world?
So I think I'll be able to answer your question in 20 years, if I survive. About 3 years ago, I decided to reinvent myself. And one of the things that I wanted to be in my last inning in this life was to be a technology philosopher. And then suddenly AI happened. And I think with AI, the need for philosophers, I hope the need for philosophers will skyrocket. Because this is the first time in the history of our humanity that we will have to answer this question.
Absolutely.
What is a human and what is a machine? And what is it, when does a machine become a human and when does a human become a machine? Because those are the questions that we will have to grapple with in the next 10, 15, 20 years as this technology develops uh, and sort of takes over or destroys us or whatever you want to see, whatever you think it's going to go. But I think it's really, really important. So, last year I was doing a course on AI at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, and one of the sessions was about AI and music, and we had they demonstrated what HKUST professors were doing with AI and music, and they made AI play music and were asking people whether it seems original and human-like or whatever. And then we had a class fellow who was a Grammy-winning musician. So in the end, they did a competition between AI and this Grammy-winning musician. And trust me, while we were listening to this very perfect AI generated music, when the Grammy winning musician started playing, uh, all of us were in tears. And there was something about him being a human and this being machine that really moved us. And we started thinking, what is it that is so unique about this? And obviously, I think humans have histories, right? When a musician is playing in front of you, you sometimes know where he came from, what kind of practice he had to do, what kind of adversity he had to overcome, and that moves you in some ways. The other thing that we noticed was that humans are also imperfect. So imperfection is also beautiful. AI can do perfect music, but that wouldn't move you. And this little, I mean, sometimes artists make mistakes, and those mistakes are the ones that make them famous, right? So I think we don't know the true answer to this question yet. I think we will definitely find out the answer in the next 15, 20 years. But there is something to this that is really interesting and enticing.
Dr. Sama, I can't tell if your outlook is dystopian or optimistic.
I
Which
don't
one
know,
is
to be
it?
honest, no. So I believe people say you are a technology policy person, so why are you so against AI? I am at a global level. What is happening to the world is not the right direction, I think. But at the level of this country, we have no choice. We don't decide what happens globally, uh, but we bear the brunt of whatever happens in this AI race. So we have to prepare our people to deal with whatever is coming their way, right? And I think that's the job of the educators. That's the job of the trainers. Uh, OpenAI, when ChatGPT was launched, OpenAI released a study in which they projected how AI is going to replace skills, right? And it said something like 10% of the work of 80% of the people will be automated. And 50% of the work of the remaining 19% of the people will be automated. Uh, I think that's a very optimistic picture when it comes to places like Pakistan. I think we produce knowledge workers, particularly knowledge workers who are average at best. So I think this figure is going to reverse for places like Pakistan. 50% of the work of 80% of the people will be automated, and 10% of the work of the remaining 19% will be automated. So it's the reverse of the figures, which means that the impact on places like Pakistan is going to be huge. A lot of people in the last few years have started doing various kinds of freelancing jobs, etc. In Pakistan. Most of those jobs are going to go away. A lot of people who started university thinking that CS degrees will get them great jobs, in a few years' time, they're going to be very disappointed, because a lot of this low-level CS coding will be done by AI, and will be done by AI, much better than what young people can do. So I think we have a really serious dilemma. While I am quite negative on the overall picture of AI and what it's going to do to humanity, I think there is no other choice for countries like Pakistan but to do what it can do to make sure that we don't lose out in a really big way in this whole race.
So, Ahmed Saab can continue to do what you're doing. But I'm going to ask, and I'm going to give Caroline one more. Well, I hope tech supports us. Caroline, if you're with us, I have the same question for you as well. What does it mean to be human in this world of AI? One more. Well,
Wish me luck. Can you hear me this time?
Caroline, if you're with us, I have the same question for you as well. What does it mean to be human in this world of AI?
Wish me luck. Can you hear me this time?
Caroline, if you're with us, I have the same question for you as well. What does it mean to be human in this world of AI?
I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, we can.
Very good. You were asking me about the uniquely human skills, and I think that I agree with what the other panelists have said.
I hope you can hear me now.
It's really for us rooted
Yes, we can.
the
Very good.
empathy and ethical
You were asking me
judgment,
about the
ability to
uniquely
form
human
opinions,
skills,
creativity.
and I think that I agree with what
that
the other
hunger for
panelists have
human
said.
connection, which is
It's
essential
really for us rooted in
human skills, the human
the
dynamic there.
empathy and human connection.
Let's say satisfy
which is
that
essential
hunger for human connection.
human skills, the human dynamic there. That's what's fundamental if you're going to drive things like entrepreneurship and innovation. Unless you can, let's say, satisfy that hunger for human connection.
Perfect. Thank you. The key words that I heard was connectivity, empathy, innovation, and entrepreneurship. That is my best attempt to decode what Caroline said because of the delay. Now we are.
Gives us two very important things, right? Okay, one, we need more skilled people to solve our tech problems. The other is we always need a backup plan for technology because it's not always going to work.
It's Murphy's Law, absolutely. This is a testament to not being over-dependent on AI. So, I'm sorry, tech. Let's move to the Q&A session where the audience has asked some questions. I do want to remind everyone once again that after the QA session, please do access the poll again through your SOT events app. So let's move to the Q&A session. Right. The questions have already appeared before us, so you could have entered those and you can still enter those through the app. So the first question we have is, would you agree that AI is an enhancement rather than a replacement? In what ways can learner agency help reinforce this idea? This question has been asked by Mr. Ian Riley. Florian, would you like to take this one?
I would love to kind of bring this idea as it connects to Ian's question about agency and what we've seen here in terms of trying to communicate with Caroline and the power of relational learning. Students will build agency if they have the people to support them, to encourage them, and to model, to show them how to do things. So this idea of relational learning is deeply human in terms of how students learn. So absolutely, we can learn with AI to stop doing what we don't need to do in a relationship between educator, educated, learners across collaborating. That would be kind of something that I would want to see, this idea that the power of relationships in teaching and learning and educating young people is what's going to become even more prevalent as we will be able to do other work such as planning for learning, planning for assessment, and integrating resources in students' learning so the relationships shine the most.
Absolutely. So definitely an an enhancer, not a replacer.
Absolutely.
Perfect. The next question. Oh, sorry, Dr.
Can I say
Osama.
something? I think it's, so I want to use the R word, which is not a good word in AI, which is regulation.
Regulation.
I think we need to, as societies, as systems, we need to decide where we want to use AI and where we don't want to use AI. If we leave this question to billionaires who are making money, selling us AI, they're gonna, make money and do whatever they want to do, right? Whatever makes money will be sold. But as educators and as other areas, other people as well, I think we need to regulate where we allow the use of AI and where we don't allow the use of AI. And I think that is really important.
Absolutely. I think the technology is faster than the policy around it. I completely agree. The next question that we have is, what are your thoughts on the research that claims using ChatGPT leads to gray matter decline?
So I think so far the studies that have come up, rigorous studies that have come up, seems to suggest that the use of AI leads to what is called cognitive offloading, where kids use AI to quickly get to the answers and not go through the real process of learning. But I think that is, again, as I said, so far in the initial days, this is what the misuse of technology looks like. We don't really know how to use it properly. I think we will have to create at our country level, our national level, our own studies and our own evidence of what kind of use of AI leads to what kind of impacts on learning. It is also not correct to just take what is being done in the West and try to assume that this is the same way it's going to happen in our country. I think our learners' learning styles and capabilities and tendencies are different, and so they will probably use AI in ways that are different from how, for example, students are using in the US or Europe or Japan or wherever, right? So it is really, really important for us to develop our own evidence on what kind of use of AI leads to what kind of impacts on learning, and then develop national policies and teaching guidelines based on local data and local evidence, rather than just taking what is available from the West and assuming that that's how it's going to work. So yes, the initial evidence is bad. I will admit that it was expected, because again, as I said, the real benefit of AI will not come from automating tasks that we used to do in the 20th century. The real benefit of AI will come from rethinking learning and rethinking assessment. And once that happens, then maybe you will start seeing the enhancement due to AI rather than the decline in learning that you're talking about.
Perfect. The importance of context, it's so important in our own research. An interesting question, which is, if AI can personalize learning perfectly, what becomes the collective purpose of a classroom? If we can have those customized learning pathways for every student, what purpose does the classroom serve?
The collective, I think, is the key here, and I'm glad you put that idea in there as we're talking about relational learning again. What are we here to be doing together, and how can we leverage this transformative potential so critical thinking can flourish in students? The collective purpose will be to teach students to use AI ethically, safely, because we see so far that still we need to protect students from the risks that AI comes with. This idea that what is produced by AI can be recognized as a human interaction when in fact is not. So we need to really, I think, streamline this understanding of how we use empathy, critical thinking, kind of navigating misinformation. This is the biggest challenge that we're having now, to understand that AI content is not original content, but really a combination of what's popular in terms of the amount of information that's out there. So I think that the job of the classroom and the job of the teachers will become more complex, but also more exciting in terms of leveraging the human dimensions of learning keeping learning ethical, protecting students from the dangers of AI, and also teaching them what is real and what is not.
So, just to quickly add to that, sort of our experience tells us that learning is not only one way. As we've heard, so instructor-led classrooms have a very different feel towards self-paced learning, and there's a lot of learning that gets done with peer learning. So, if you have other people in the classroom, they're able to add a lot of context and they're able to tell you about their experience, and everyone learns a little differently, and it's very helpful to interact with these people, right? And the last thing is, these people help you build a network. So a lot of the brand name universities or the curriculum that you go for is a lot about building a network. So yes, you can learn from reading a book in a library, but that holistic experience of building something and building a profile and building your intellectual ability, I don't think that's going away anytime soon. You can definitely use it to augment the traditional way, but the traditional way has, like I said, it has an environment that is very conducive to learning. It's got other people who are who have the same objective, and then it helps you build that network through that that environment.
100%. The traditional classroom is not going out of fashion anytime soon. That is the take from Ahmed Khan Sahab, and I think it's an accurate take. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we come to the close of our session today, which was Brain, Bots, and the Broken Curricula. May I please thank our panelists for a riveting discussion. Thank you so much, panelists, and thank you, attendees.